A lot of discussion about Matt Shaw on third base has been going on with Jed and, going up and back, especially yesterday. How do you view Shaw's year and how do you project him? I mean, can he be a multi-position player and a very good player, or do you just look at him as a third baseman?
I mean, I think Matt had a very good rookie season, and I think the reason you say that is because he made improvements, and as the season went on, I think he got better. We got a better offensive player in the second half. We got a very good offensive player in the second half. I think we'd all agree defensively. I think he surprised everybody and made enormous progress as the season went on, to the point of borderline plus third baseman by the end of the season. Those are all great things. And so, Matt's going to play a big part in this team. There's no question he's going to have a big role and a big place on this team.
Can it be in multiple positions or third?
I mean, every season kind of brings out its new thing. We were very injury-free last year from a position player group. And that created a lot of continuity with guys playing the same position. A new season can change that. And guys that can play more than one position, in some years, Nico has played shortstops one year. He's played second base. So if a guy can play more than one position and you need it, great, it's another option.
Now that you've had some time to reflect on the season and the way the postseason went, what are you taking away from that and kind of carrying over into next year?
Yeah, look, I mean, we had a good regular season. I'd say it again, 92 wins is a lot of wins. It is hard to win 92 games in a season. That is a good season. The playoffs are a completely different animal, and it's short series. Things got to go right. Players got to do special things. We've got to catch some breaks. We've got to be healthy at the right times. And enough of those things didn't go right where we couldn't advance further, unfortunately. And look, you're going to try to always seek ways to make yourself better. But I think, at this point, you're trying to make yourself better for the regular season, because that's what's, we got 162 of those games in front of us, and they're, I think you try to get in the playoffs, absolutely, but winning the division gives you that little extra advantage that is obviously still a goal and still creates an advantage.
With the roster, what do you feel like looking better looks like for this team going into next year?
Yeah, I mean, from a position player standpoint, I mean, the loss right now is Tucker, obviously. The rest of the group is back and likely with us. So, we have young players that did contribute, I thought, in a big way. I thought Moises in September, played like he gave us the offensive production of Tucker, essentially, in the month of September. And that's those, and between him and Owen, who was unfortunately hurt for most of that month, those are two important players as we sit right now. And so it's a pretty, there's not much to think about there. There's obviously bench pieces that are going to be important because I think we were so healthy last year. I think that's another thing that we have to, really think about. Got a lot of work to do completing our bullpen, obviously, and you're never going to be satisfied with what you have from a pitching perspective. So you're always protecting your depth and protecting the injuries, because the injuries are just always a little more significant in that area.
Would you like to see the addition of a veteran bat to replace Tucker's production, or are you confident that the kids can step up and, if not equal that production, maybe come close?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're just trying to fortify the roster as a whole, and so different we can do it. You can do it and think about it in different ways. But I mean, I think more depth from the position player standpoint and production, would be helpful. Absolutely. I do think we were again extremely healthy there last year, so more depth there is important.
Moises, how are you thinking about balancing the need for continued development at the catching position versus he's major league ready bat?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's at the point where if he can help the major league team, he's going to be in the major leagues. So that's I don't. There's not an everyday catching job in the major leagues for him, but as constructed right now, we've got room for at bats, and I think that's so. I would prioritize the major leagues right now, but that can change with roster stuff.
When you look at guys like Moises and how much last year, Sean was given that runway to develop in the majors the year before. Pete kind of went through the same thing.
Well, every young player
I know,
is.
but-
That's how you have to be.
But on a contending team, I mean, they'll have.
But every young player is in a contending team too. I mean, you young players they have to get chances. Have to get chances. And that game, and look around the league. I think that's one thing that you have to give your young players opportunities. You're better for giving. Your team is better for giving your young players opportunities.
How much could it help them that they have guys in the room who just went through that with this group too?
I'm not sure that it helps them. I think they have to. You have to. It's a tough league, and even the veteran players can struggle. So it's a tough league. But I think, I think you see in giving the opportunities young players getting is that they're the guys that are going to improve as the season goes and turn into better players and then turn into very important players on your club. And so you have to be patient with those opportunities and create those. And you have to create the opportunities for players like that, for players of that caliber.
With Shota coming back, just what does it mean knowing you have him in the rotation again next year? And just from your perspective, with just obviously how the season ended for him and how disappointed he was after Game 5 to not get that opportunity, and just how do you view that part?
I'm really excited about Shota. I think he is in a really good place. I think sometimes not achieving what we want or not getting the opportunities we want or not performing how we want is the best teacher for us and it is the best motivator for us. And I think Shota's going to take his lessons from last year and be better for them. And so I'm very optimistic about what we're going to get from Shota.
Do you think from the outside it might look like he's far from the pitcher that he was, but it's probably not the case?
I agree with that 1,000%. I think Shota got off track last year. There's no question about it. He got off track. But maybe one of the reasons we were collectively unable to help him get back on track is that it was so close that it was hard to see. And I think sometimes just a step back and you're out of competition and a little perspective helps you get back to that place. And a challenge, frankly, right? And the challenge of the struggles helps you have a little clarity on getting back to your best self, and maybe a better self even. And so someone who the diligence and the intelligence that he approaches pitching and problems around pitching, I think he's going to come back from this with a lot of success.
Whether Tucker continues or not, we saw all the things that he brought to the table in the first half, but the way he insulates himself personally, is that difficult? Was that difficult for you and the staff to be able to try to help him? Not that he was distant as a person, but just insulated as a player.
No, I mean, I think we're all individuals, and we all have had success in our own way, and I think it's up to coaches, frankly, to meet the players in those places and help them with ways they've had success. Obviously, suggest different ways to have success, and new ways and other paths. But that's absolutely part of it, and it's. From a coaching standpoint, you love dealing with the different personalities. That's what makes it so much fun, and unlocking all different sorts. So, Kyle's had a recipe for success that is very effective, and will continue to be.
What's your stance on Owen with Team Canada? And could it be a good thing if it plays for them? Sometimes, it's different.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a bunch of players that are, I think, in the consideration mode right now for the WBC. So I think in general, the WBC is it's a great experience for a lot of guys. And for some, I'd recommend against it. But for most, I think it's a great experience.
Is the line hitter pitcher? Is that?
Does last spring's earlier schedule, with you guys
Yeah.
over in Japan, kind of mirrored a little bit of how early spring is? Does it make you feel more comfortable with
No.
Okay.
No.
Just one more on Shota, looking back on it, how did things kind of get off track, or what?
Well,
Because up until September, he was
Yeah.
being how good.
Yeah, I think sometimes, the injury got him off track. And sometimes I think we had a period of some results covered up some things, but I think they were there. And then, they kind of showed themselves.
A little more on that. What was that, if you could tell us, that exit interview like, considering how it ended with him and skipping him?
No, I mean, I think just that. I mean, I think it's, Shota is looking forward to how I'm going to be better. Like that. That's why, then that's why you're optimistic too. It's look, what's next? What's next? What's next? I think that's Shota's mindset, is what's next. How am I going to get better? How am I going to get, put myself in a place that I should be? So, he's got something. I think he feels like he has something to prove, that's a great mindset for an athlete to be in.
We talked a lot about Wrigley Field ad nauseum being a home field advantage or disadvantage, or lock it out of your mind, just go play your game. But in reality, has the game at Wrigley changed for these players over the 2 years you've been there? Have you had to be more positive as a manager and the coaching staff and not feel like it was a stigma to the offense?
Yeah, I think we've. I don't think it's changed over the 2 years. I think it. Sometimes I think just when you acknowledge that something is there, it's just that's acceptance, and that makes you perform through it. And I think we did a good job of acknowledging circumstances last year, and collectively acknowledging them. And it's for an offensive thing, and sometimes it's a pitching thing. I mean, Colin Ray had a number of starts where, the wind is just. He had 2 starts, the wind howling out, and your job in those starts is just get a number of outs, get me deep enough into the game where we can put the game together for today and the next couple days, and that's your job. You're going to give up 6 runs, but you got 15 outs. So I think as a team and as a group, its conditions aren't always fair, and they create stat lines that aren't maybe deserved or earned or whatever. They just happen. But the name of the game is to win, and I think our guys accepted that, and that's why we played really well at home.
You mentioned,
or one of the reasons.
you mentioned Ballesteros catch. If that opportunity did pop up, if he was forced into action, how comfortable are you with that?
Yeah, I mean then he'll catch. Yeah, Simple as that. I mean, I think he's absolutely going to catch games. Yeah.
And you feel like he's made real progress there, and you're comfortable with him as a semi-regular catcher?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got to be better than the other two guys, but I think other than that, I'm comfortable with it. Yes.
You have a new outfielder in the meantime. How do you look at usage for him? I know it's early.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to pitch leverage innings. We've got it's a bit of some empty spots down there. So it's right now it's a bit hard to tell you how the bullpen is going to work. Truthfully, yeah.
When-
Our guys like Valencia and Hodge, just those internal guys for that group. I mean, I know the bullpen's far from.
Yeah.
But just guys who the last 2 years. You saw
Yeah, I mean, look, the bullpen is, we talked about this earlier this week. Like, what we thought about our bullpen going into the season, and maybe just reread it. Maybe what we thought, we were wrong. We were pretty wrong on it. We ended up pitching pretty well, but I think at the start of the season, it maybe wasn't the guys that we expected to do it. So it just shows. I think it's, it's get a bunch of good arms, and kind of see, what happens, and have enough abilities to pivot when you have to during the season. And so I think part of that absolutely this year will be, Porter had a rough season. It's Porter Hodge season bouncing back. That's going to be important. Yeah.
Last year, I think he improved a lot. So what do you see
Defensively?
Defensively.
And often, yeah. I mean, I think Seiya had a really good season. I think he finished it with excellent. His last. It's funny. Like Seiya really struggled in August and the first half of September. Really struggled, and then maybe the second half of September and through the playoffs was absolutely excellent. So I'm very happy for Seiya how he performed in the playoffs. I think he was a very dangerous hitter, and I think showed what he can really do and the impact he can have. So, and then the other is, I think defensively I think he played very well this season. He had less chances and did spend the bulk of the first half of the season in the DH spot, but the second half of the season with Kyle's injury, he played significant innings in the outfield and did a really good job.
With Pete, when we talked to him after he won his Gold Glove, he said he was still kind of digesting the totality of the season. Just what are you hoping he takes away from this past year, and what do you envision a realistic evolution for him this offseason into next year?
Well, I think it's a season that you'd kind of expect from Pete. I mean, that's Pete, right? It's like we saw some incredible things. We saw some stretches where he was an out, at the plate. I think his defense was, incredibly consistent and brilliant throughout the season. And I think really the goal is to keep improving. How the season plays out, I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't know if it's going to be a streaky season or a consistent season, but just to improve, and to never be satisfied with kind of where you're at, and always seek yourself going to the next level. That's what I'd want from Pete. And as long as that quest, never kind of burns out and you keep that alive, like he's going to get to better places and great places.
Put into words what Nico Warner's value is beyond what defense and what he brings into like his intangible qualities to this team.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their own kind of intangible qualities. I mean, Nico's great at like kind of some really things that I think other people think they're good at, and they're not as good at it. Like, and I'm not talking about just players. I'm just talking about people. It's like when you say like show up every day and like complete every rep, like that is Nico. Like every rep is completed perfectly. Like that's who Nico is. And that seems like, well, that's easy. Everybody can do that. I do that. Well, you don't do it, you know. Like, but I think so. I would put Nico at like at the top of the list for how he does that. And in a sport like baseball, like it with so many games and so many moments, it shows up a lot. And I think it's a great trait to have, and it's what's made Nico a very, very good baseball player.
Take two more for Craig.
You said at the top, your job right now is to get better for the regular season. Is there any part of the postseason that like kind of informs your conversations with Jed on the off season, or is it really as simple as like regular season now, and then maybe at the trade deadline, then you're kind of flipping that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I think you're probably asking about pitching there to me, but and that's why I think you can always just say like there's never enough pitching, and that's why you make those cliche. That's why I give that cliche answer. But yeah, I mean, I think if you look at what happened to us in the playoffs, if we would have had to keep going, I think is where it would have got daunting. I don't think it was daunting for the first two series, and I don't think it necessarily affected us for the first two series. If we had to keep going, Cade was scheduled to come back and start pitching, but it would have been difficult. Yeah. So I think, yeah, but some of that is like you gotta have enough guys, and the time of the season and the injuries and things like that, they add up as the season goes.
Right. If everyone's healthy
Yeah.
last year, then
Yeah.
you're looking
Yeah.
a lot better.
But that's what you're always guarded against, and I think you see, you see teams like Atlanta who had significant like starting pitcher injuries and what it can do to a season, and that you think about that, absolutely.
I guess in that context, what is it like knowing Justin Steele will be coming back, and
Yeah.
knowing a guy with that track record?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an important part of the season, but it's also something for us to just consider is that the starting pitcher injuries it's significant. They can be very significant, and there's very few position player injuries that keep you out for the season, and it happens more on the starting pitcher side, but getting a player back of that caliber is important. Absolutely, it is important.
Is he on the same?
Yeah. I mean, nothing has changed. I mean, it's not going to be opening day, and after that, I think I really don't want to speculate kind of until we get to spring training and see where he's at as we get to. I think we'll know in spring training kind of a target area of dates there, but yeah, it's not going to be opening day, but I think it'll be the first half of the season. Yeah.
Thank you, Craig. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, you're welcome.